All right, today we're jumping into the Olivia Walker prosecution. This is a case that's been in the legal system for, believe it or not, over 6 years. So what we're going to do is break down the key legal arguments, looking at what the actual case materials tell us. Let's dive right in.
So right at the center of this whole thing is a really basic, kind of mind-blowing question. How do you even prosecute a case when there's literally zero physical evidence? I mean, nothing for the defense to test, nothing for a jury to look at. You got to wonder, how does that even happen? It's a question that really gets to the core of how our justice system is supposed to work.
And look, this isn't just some what-if scenario. It's real. The case files are crystal clear on this. Every single piece of forensic material was completely destroyed. And this happened before the defense ever got their hands on it to do their own analysis. This one fact right here is what kicks off every single legal battle we're about to talk about.
Okay, so let's get into the first big issue here, a case with no evidence. We're diving into a prosecution that's been going on for 6 years without any testable proof. And let me be really clear, we're not talking about a few things that got misplaced. We are talking about the total destruction of the entire scientific record of the case.
I mean, just look at the scope of what's gone. It is absolutely staggering. This isn't just one or two things. We're talking about clothing, biological samples, tissue, trace evidence, even samples from the environment itself. Basically, anything an independent expert could have used to either confirm or, challenge what the state was saying, it's just gone, forever.
So, what's left? Well, with all the actual stuff gone, the prosecution has to lean on photographs. And that brings us to the problem with photographs, because as you'll see, pictures alone just aren't enough to build a case. Legally and scientifically, this creates a huge headache for them.
This chart really lays it out. Think about it. With physical evidence, you can test it, you can verify it, you can re-examine it. Experts from both sides can dig into it and figure out what really happened. But with photos, nope. You can't test a picture, you can't scientifically verify its context, and a photo alone can't prove what caused what you're seeing. It's just a snapshot, a record of the evidence. It isn't the evidence itself.
Yeah, here's a great way to think about it. Relying on just photos is like asking a doctor to diagnose you based on a drawing of you. Sure, the sketch might show you've got a rash or something, but the doctor can't run any tests, right? No blood work, no MRI, none of the real science they need to figure out what's actually wrong. Without the patient, the real evidence, it's all just guesswork.
So, you're probably thinking, okay, but what does the law say about this? I mean, this can't be the first time this has happened, right? Well, you're right. The courts have actually been very clear about how they view the destruction of evidence. There's a whole legal framework for this stuff, and it goes all the way to the top.
It really starts with a case called California versus Trombetta back in 1984. The Supreme Court said, listen, the state has a constitutional duty to hold on to evidence, specifically evidence that has exculpatory value. That's just a fancy way of saying evidence that could help prove someone is innocent. So if the government destroys that kind of evidence, that's a direct violation of your due process rights. Simple as that.
Then, just a few years later, the Supreme Court took it a step further in Arizona v. Youngblood. They said, okay, what if the evidence is only potentially useful? Well, if the state destroys that evidence in bad faith, it's still a major problem, a violation of due process. And bad faith doesn't have to be some grand conspiracy. It can be as simple as knowing something might help the defense and getting rid of it anyway.
And this isn't just some abstract federal rule. Right there in Georgia where this case is happening, their own courts have said the same thing over and over. You look at cases like Blackwell and Miller. Judges have thrown cases out completely because destroyed evidence meant the defense couldn't run their own tests or even prove their own client's innocence.
So what's the big takeaway from all this legal stuff? Well, it's pretty straightforward. When the evidence is gone and there's no comparable replacement, nothing else to test, the courts have made it clear dismissal is the only answer. It's the only remedy. Because at that point, a fair trial is just impossible.
Okay, so you'd think the whole no evidence thing would be enough, right? Well, buckle up, because 5 years into this case, a whole new puzzle piece shows up, half a decade late. We're talking about the search warrant.
Just check out this timeline. It's kind of wild. So, year 0, they do a search. No warrant is given to the defense, okay? Then for the next, 4 or 5 years, the defense keeps asking, hey, where's the warrant? And the answer is always, nope, can't find one. Then, bam. Year 5, a warrant just appears, out of nowhere.
Yeah, a warrant showing up 5 years late raises some serious questions. I mean, first off, is it even real? Was the original search legal if no one could produce a warrant for it? And where the heck has this thing been hiding for 5 years? The chain of custody is a total mystery. And this is a huge deal, because if that warrant is invalid, then everything they found during that search, it has to be suppressed, thrown out, gone.
All right, so let's put it all together now. The path to dismissal. We've got these two giant problems, right? First, all the forensic evidence has been destroyed. Second, we've got this super sketchy warrant that showed up 5 years late. So how do you connect those dots into a single logical argument?
Well, the argument really breaks down into 3 simple steps. Step 1. All the forensic evidence is gone, which makes a fair defense impossible. Can't argue with that. Step 2. This questionable warrant calls the legality of the entire search into question. And that leads right to step 3. The case is now resting only on untestable photos, which, as we've seen, just aren't enough.
And that brings us to the unavoidable conclusion. There is no evidence the defense can examine. It's that simple. Their experts have nothing to work with.
And if the defense can't look at it, what about the jury? There is no evidence a jury can truly evaluate. Their whole job is to weigh the evidence, but the actual evidence isn't there. All they have are pictures, which they can't put under a microscope.
So when you add it all up, no evidence to test, a search that might have been illegal from the start, there's only one place you can end up. There is just no path to a fair trial. It's impossible. The constitutional guarantee of due process just can't be met.
And this whole situation leaves us with a really big, kind of haunting question that's about more than just this one case. It's about our entire system. When the evidence disappears, does justice disappear with it?